And hello, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, elves and zebras, fairies and gypsies, to another episode of This Is Not a Fun Episode. So we had another horrible tragedy yesterday. To say horrible tragedy, isn't that redundant or not? Anyway, so welcome, internet world. I know I'm still half asleep, but anyway. I shouldn't be. I've been up for a few hours, but I'm not 100% sure what to say about what happened yesterday. First, my heart goes out to the victims, and that includes the family and friends of those who were injured, because to me, if you're a family member or a friend, then you're also a victim. My heart goes out to the perpetrator's family. His stepmom and stepdad had passed away, but I'm sure he has other family out there, and my heart goes out to you as well. To those of you who were in the school, or just everybody. I mean, I don't. Even if you were not in the part of the school he was shooting in, you still must have gone through HELL. I cannot imagine what it would be like going through that. I mean, I've been through things in my life, but nothing like that, nothing even close. And I don't like how some politicians are politicizing this already. I mean, they started politicizing it yesterday, before we knew anything. And for people who want more gun control, let me tell you something. You can go to the hardware store and you can build a gun. You don't even have to go to the hardware store. Most people have everything they need in their house to build a gun. You can build a semi-automatic gun. You can build a self-loading gun, which, anyway, you can build a pin gun. Do you know all it takes to build a little zip gun or pin gun, whatever you want to call it, is a little pipe. Depending on, I don't have a bullet in front of me, so I can't show you, but just need a pipe that will hold the bullet and something to hit the something as a firing pin. Depending on what type of round you're shooting will depend on what type of firing pin. But look, the Viet Cong in Vietnam, you know what they did for booby traps? They would take a nail and put it into hammer it into a board, and then on top of that they'd put an artillery shell, and then when you stepped hard enough on it, boom! That's all you need, is that nail and something to keep it in place. So, I just posted on Facebook several links, which I probably shouldn't do, because there are crazies out there, but I posted a link to several sources on how to build these things. They're not difficult to build. Now, of course, this boy didn't have, as far as I know, he didn't have a homemade gun. I mean, his guns, he had an AR-15 from my understanding. And he was, I should say, the FBI was warned at least twice about this kid, and they didn't do anything. Now, I don't know what information the FBI had. It's easy to say, 2020 hindsight, it's easy to say after the fact something should have been done. But I don't know. I mean, like, again, it's 2020 hindsight. It's easy to say after the fact Because now we know what he did, but you don't know what somebody's going to do unless they do it. And it's not until they do it; it's unless they do it. There's a group of people near where we live that I consider very dangerous and have proven themselves to be violent people. And they're heavily armed people. I don't see anybody taking their guns away. And sometimes they even express their violence online. Or at least they used to. They've become better about not doing that. There are photographs and videos of them shooting off semi-automatic guns. Now, for some people who would say, well, the Founding Fathers, when they wrote the Second Amendment, they did not have the knowledge of semi-automatic guns. That's not true. This is not true. Semi-automatic guns existed before the American Revolution. I will try and find a link and provide a link to it, but it's the semi-automatic flintlock that was being produced was produced for many decades. So it obviously worked. People obviously liked it. The reason the semi-automatic rifle that existed at the time was offered to the Continental Army, but the powers that be at the time said, well, we're afraid that our troops will use too much gunpowder, so we don't want to use that because they're going to waste all the powder. So everybody involved, as far as I know, used single-shot guns. But it's not that that semi-autos didn't exist. They definitely existed. And for those politicians that started politicizing this as of yesterday, you're scum. You're scum. Anyway, so my heart goes out to everybody involved. I don't know what I can really say. I mean, I have limited information, so do I believe that people that have proven themselves to be violent when I say that proven themselves to be violent, I'm talking about people who take their gun and go and pull it on people and stuff like that, because they're, like I said, they're the people in Keene and that are associated with the Keene fascists, whose dear leader looks like Joseph Goebbels for some reason. I wonder why. And they're both propagandists. And that individual happens to be well armed, or at least he used to be. It used to be. He's heavily narcissistic. But I think his followers, many of his followers, are narcissistic as well. But they're very violent. Many of them are, not all of them, but many of them are. And others are willing to use violence. And no, I don't think they should have firearms. But then, that's because some of them have proven it. They've pulled guns on people. They've pulled knives on people. And I don't think people like that should be allowed to have guns. The thing is, like I said, you can make your own guns. You probably have everything you need in your house to build a gun. You probably, if you don't, you can go to the hardware store and buy everything you need to make a gun. Okay, so it's I think when people have been proven to be violent, then they shouldn't have guns. But as for people with mental illness and having firearms, just because you're mentally ill doesn't mean you're violent. And if you're mentally ill, that doesn't take away your right to self-defense. So, but if you are a person who is prone to violence, I don't think you should have a gun. So that's my 2 cents.